The word about life comes from Matthew chapter 13 and also from Thich Nhat Hanh. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a person found and covered up. Then in their joy they go and sell everything they own and buys that field. And from Thich Nhat Hanh, happiness is available. Please help yourself. We've been looking at resilience, and today we end our series on resilience, for you probably have endured enough. One Sunday morning, the pastor noticed Maggie was staring up at a large memorial plaque that hung in the foyer of the church. The 7-year-old had been staring at the plaque for some time, so the pastor walked up, stood beside the girl, and said quietly, "Good morning." "Good morning, Pastor," replied the young girl, still focused on the plaque. "Sir, what is this?" Maggie asked. "Well, these are all the people who have died in the service," replied the pastor. Soberly, they stood together, staring at the large plaque. Maggie's voice barely broke the silence when she asked quietly, "Which one, sir, the 8:30 or the 10:30 service?" So when I say you've endured enough in terms of resilience, this is what I'm talking about. I adopted Andrew Zolli's definition of resilience. He defined resilience as the capacity to maintain core purpose and integrity in the face of dramatic, changing circumstances. And we get the images of a fighter who keeps getting up after being knocked down. And we get the idea of a tree bending in the wind just enough so that it does not break. These are images of resilience. And in my readings over the last couple of weeks about resilience, I want to add that as a side note, the concept of resilience is dominating a lot of new conversations. And the conversation is turning from sustainability to resilience. It is appropriate to think about it on an individual and personal basis, and I think this is where our minds go first. But I want you to know, as a side note, that it is not limited to an individual, that a great deal of discussion about resilience is happening by many different professionals and scholars. And the questions are about the resilience of groups, the resilience of systems, and resilience of societies. For example, can the resilience of a terrorist group or the resilience of bacteria teach us something about the frailty or resilience of American society, or even the institution of the church, or even here locally for Shadow Rock? And the answer turns out to be yes. The answer includes ideas like being fragile and robust at the same time. Ideas of decentralizing and diversity and networking. So in this spirit, some work has been done by our church board as we continue a visioning process, and I've asked that Liz would share a note with you. Hi, Liz.
Good morning. I'm Liz Curry, president of the board, representing the board. A copy of this letter went out electronically on Friday, and it's important enough that Ken is devoting some of his time during the sermon for me to read the letter to you. Dear friends and members of Shadow Rock, the governing board of our congregation has been working to identify the practices that will raise funds and congregational vitality to sustain Shadow Rock's mission into the future. We are working to move beyond the old conversations while facing the headwinds in church-going trends, overtapped staff and volunteers, and other very real cultural challenges. At our last board meeting on February 19th of this year, the board passed a resolution establishing working groups to put the identified practices into action. The board's resolution creates 4 working groups. Branding and marketing, first group, branding and marketing working group. Many steps have already been taken to increase our presence and messaging online. The goal of this group is to refine and expand the marketing efforts that support the brand of Shadow Rock, including vision statements and mission opportunities. This work has already started, but there are many more exciting opportunities ahead. The Governance Working Group. The goal of this group is to identify the key short-term and long-term governance initiatives, policies and procedures necessary to shore up Shadow Rock and its financial and organizational health. Our third group, the Sunday Connections Working Group. A few years ago, we promoted the idea that there is value in the bundle. That is, education, faith formation, worship, coffee chat, and fellowship are connected in the whole experience of our time together. The goal of this group is to refine and improve the Sunday core community experiences, including music, format, flow, presentation, and every offering on Sunday. Finally, our fourth group, the Business Development Working Group. The goal of this group is to hire a business development professional and/or consultant who can integrate with the staff and execute at a high level the revenue opportunities for Shadow Rock. This path forward is the result of many hours of research, conversation, and lots of patience and trust in each other. The resolution and this communication with you today is a snapshot of where we are now. And I'd like to especially thank Pastor Ken as well as Jim Robbins and Naboth for creating this particular document. This represents hours and hours of work and in a much more succinct form. I know many of you have had questions about the work and the results, and so available to you are the following items: the 61-page summary from our Inspired Connections consultant, including the congregation survey and the Pew Research on Religion in America, Pastor Ken's memo, original memo, attempting to distill down this summary to a more workable document, and the full wording of this official board resolution. If you want to see more of these, one or more of these documents, please contact the church office or contact me. Finally, you are invited to join a group. Think and pray about these working groups, ask questions, and join the conversation. And I'm thrilled to announce that I've already had somebody who's offered to join one of our groups just based on the letter that went on Friday, so I appreciate that. We are excited about moving forward to the next steps regarding the future we want to create together, and we hope you will join us. Please contact me if you would like to be a part of one of our working groups. And I share this both with appreciation and excitement. So thank you for your continuing support.
Thank you, Liz. My thanks to everyone. Let's see, am I on? I can't tell. I'm on. Okay. As every year, I find it harder and harder to look beyond my belly to check out the light on the thing. Okay. Well, I am grateful to everyone in the work that we've done up to this point, knowing that we have a long way to go, and yet very excited about what we have done and where we are going. So my thanks to all of you. Yesterday, I heard on NPR a story about a man. He was being interviewed on NPR, and the man's name is Albert Woodfox. And this man was in solitary confinement for most of 40 years for a murder that he did not commit. He was finally found innocent of that crime and released 3 years ago. He wrote a book titled Solitary. In the interview, he said every day in solitary confinement, he had to decide if today would be the day that he would break. And then he would decide, not today. Another image of resilience that comes to my mind is the image of a faithful spouse visiting their life partner in a nursing home. Every day, a frail person decides to visit, and to love, and to care for an even more frail person. Every day they make that decision. And that is resilience. I'm pretty sure that we are looking for clues and advice and sources to increase our own strength. I understand that. I wish the ingredients of resilience were such that I could just pull them out of my pocket or pull them out of a suitcase and just give those to you, because I want that for you. I wish I could give you a simple 3-step program, 1, 2, 3, for how to be resilient. However, we all know that the things most valuable are not that easy to obtain or to give away. As Plato wrote, what is beautiful is difficult. And what we have been doing over the last couple of weeks is I've been wanting to give you a theological foundation for understanding resilience. I'm always encouraging us to look beneath the surface of things. And so, despite my better judgment to reduce things to bullet points, and I have resisted that, I'm going to do it anyway. 1, life is messy, and we do not have all the answers or the capacity to prepare or fix every dramatic, life-changing circumstance. 2, acknowledging the truth that this is the way life is the beginning of resilience. 3, if life is this way, this means that humility is the orientation toward life which best equips our capacity for resilience. There's a Catholic story about Saint Macarius. Saint Macarius survived many demonic attacks against him. And once he was carrying a bundle of palm branches for weaving baskets, and a devil met him on the way and wanted to strike him with the blade of the sickle. But the demon was not able to do this. He would swing and it would go right through him. But it would not hurt him. Finally, the demon said, Macarius, I suffer great anguish from you because I am unable to vanquish you. I do everything you do. You fast, and I eat nothing at all. You keep vigil, and I never sleep. You surpass me in only one thing: humility. Saint Macarius' level of humility, his ego was so diminished that when the demon swung his sickle, the blade went through him, hitting nothing because there was nothing to hit. And so the 4th step for resilience is that dramatic life-changing circumstances are a part of life. Stress and anxiety caused by dramatic changing circumstances are increased or neutralized by the way we either emotionally react or thoughtfully respond. And awareness and mindfulness are the keys to regulating our own responses to life's traumatic changing circumstances. 5, if humility is the virtue underlying resilience, then prayer and meditation are the tools for resilience. When we think of resilience, we are influenced by our culture. We think of Rambo beating up the bad guys, enduring abuse and sewing up the wound on his own arm with a fishing line and a hook. We think of resilience as added toughness, as added mental fortification. And I think there are indeed added ingredients to our character, but when it comes to resilience, there is also a subtraction dynamic. It's not all about addition. Hear the parable of Jesus again. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a person found, covered it up. Then in their joy, they go and sell everything they own, and they buy that field. The kingdom of heaven is not the object of the treasure. The kingdom of heaven is the joy that motivates behavior to subtract everything from our lives in order to secure that joy. The less of me there is for the blade of the vicissitudes of life to cut me down, the more resilient I become. I use the word vicissitudes for Bill Jones, by the way. Okay. Let him know. We can pray for strength. We can pray for an easy life. We can pray for showers of blessings, even though Jesus made it clear that it rains and the sun shines on all people the same. We can pray that God would add more to our lives, increase our territory. However, we can also pray for less. Oh God, take away my attachments to things and people and ideas that weigh down my spirit, and make me vulnerable to dramatic life-changing circumstances. This is the bit of wisdom of the parable. The kingdom of heaven is to have nothing but one thing: the joy of knowing and being known by God. Carrie Newcomer wrote a song titled "Bare to the Bone." I recommend that you look it up on YouTube. It reminds me I came into the world with nothing, and I will leave the world with nothing. There is peace and grace in the acceptance of this truth. She writes, "When my eyes are slowly fading, when the light is softly waning, when the evening sun is setting, and the world is barely breathing, then your voice will gently call me, and your hand will lead me home, like a newborn, awed and naked, and bare to the bone." Our resilience is not in our added strength. Our resilience is in subtracting all the things that separate us from the love of God. Our resilience is in the stripping away of all the layers that keep us from connecting our hearts and our minds with our roots of being God's children. When I am most mindful that I am a child of God and a unique expression of life, then all the knockdowns and the storm winds are not so bad, because it all happens within the larger context of love. We really have so little that we can count on in life. And so Carrie Newcomer goes on to sing, "Time will wash away our footprints, and we'll leave without a trace. Between here and now and forever is such precious little time. What we do in love, what we do in kindness, is all we ever leave behind." I think that's true. I know every time I wake up in the morning, it is a gift of grace. And this makes me resilient. Amen.